Hello out there, everybody. Manny here at Area 503. And I hope you all have been well since our last video. In today's episode, I want to talk to you all about cybernetic jellyfish. You heard me right. But before you click away to another video, just hear me out for a second. I remember reading something back in 2018 that got me researching the cybernetic jellyfish story, and that led me to a Stanford doctoral candidate named Nicole Xu. I found this lecture that she gave, so let's hear some highlights of what she had to say on the subject.
I'd like to begin by asking you all a question. How much do you know about the ocean? Now, whether you're thinking not much or I'm an expert because I'm an oceanographer, the reality is that we've only explored about 5% of the ocean. But what we do know is that the ocean covers almost 3/4 of the Earth's surface and is responsible for processes such as thermal regulation and producing oxygen. Now, there are a few different methods of ocean monitoring. One is using remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, which are basically like small cars that are attached to boats via these long cables. Another is autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, like this glider, for example. And these are great tools for making ocean measurements because they can reach areas of the ocean that boats and divers can't, but there are a few challenges. These can be very costly, they can also be very bulky, and they can leave more unnatural vehicle wakes that might disturb more sensitive areas of the ocean. So this is where bio-inspired robots come in. By creating these robots that mimic how animals naturally move, we can create more energy-efficient aquatic vehicles that can leave more natural wakes to minimize disturbances to the environment. As a few examples here, we have the robotic fish, manta ray, and jellyfish. And these can be used to collect images, data such as temperature measurements, and take samples of water from new locations. So Aurelia aurita, or moon jellyfish, are a simple energy-efficient model organism for two reasons. The first reason is that about 1/4 of the total distance traveled occurs when the jellyfish is passive and relaxed, so no extra energy is expended in order to travel forward. The second is that jellyfish have a low cost of transport, which is a metric of energy efficiency. And you can kind of think of it as the opposite of miles per gallon, so something like gallons per mile. And the important thing to note is that a low cost of transport equates to a high energy efficiency. So as you can see on this graph, which plots cost of transport for different modes of transportation, for animals of the same mass, you can see that running has the highest cost of transport, which means that it's the least energy efficient, followed by flying, followed by different forms of swimming, with jellyfish all the way there at the bottom. So jellyfish are one of the most energy efficient animals. The solution that I've been working on is to create a biohybrid robot by using the animal itself as a natural scaffold and embedding microelectronics in to control how it moves. And this is a low power and a low cost solution. And this is also adaptable to a variety of environments because that's where these animals are naturally found. But we're not constrained by the biology. We can use electrodes to act as artificial pacemakers to activate the muscles. So I've been working on this portable swim controller that embeds into the jellyfish at the center with an electrode that embeds directly into the swim muscle. And I know you guys are all wondering, does this harm the jellyfish? And the answer is that it doesn't seem to harm the jellyfish in the long term. In fact, jellyfish don't have a brain or a central nervous system, and immediately after the swim controller is removed, the jellyfish swims and feeds as usual. So let's take a closer look. Within this 3D printed acrylic housing, we have a series of microelectronics. Right now, it's just the battery and the chip that controls the electrode, but in the future, we can incorporate things such as temperature sensors. The electrode is an LED that flashes every time a signal gets sent through the electrode, and the device embeds into the center of the jellyfish via this toothpick, which actually holds onto the tissue much better than other engineered materials because of the microscopic barbs in the wood. So, this is an example of what my Cyborg jellyfish looks like, with the swim controller operating at a frequency of 0.5 hertz, meaning that there's one signal every 2 seconds. You can see here, with this one electrode embedded at the side of the jellyfish, every time the LED flashes red, that's when a signal is occurring at that muscle location, and you can see this clear muscle wave propagating from that point. From experiments like this, but using 2 electrodes, I can characterize how different frequencies of the swim controller control the swimming speed. So the main takeaways I want you to remember from today are that we don't know much about the ocean, but we can control jellyfish swimming in a laboratory environment. Now, there are a lot of challenges translating this work from the lab into the ocean, but I hope that I've convinced you that this is a promising direction for ocean monitoring.
Are they actually implanting biological organisms with cybernetic implants in order to augment strength? In short, yes they are. Look at this article dated January 30th, 2020 from the Dailymail about cybernetic jellyfish. The article reads, "Prosthetic sends electric jolts through jellyfish to help it swim 3 times faster. The device is coated in a waterproof plastic film and housed with cork weights. The technology includes a mini processor, lithium battery, and 2 electrodes. Experts envision adding sensors to the technology for underwater exploration." That's right, folks. The cybernetic jellyfish is no longer science fiction. It has become a reality. The article continues by stating that scientists have given jellyfish superpowers. Well, that's a melodramatic way to put it, I suppose. Anyhow, the team designed a microelectronic prosthetic that helps the creatures swim 3 times faster while using less metabolic energy. They then attach these prosthetics to the jellyfish using a high-tech device known as a toothpick, and they later plan to add sensor modules to the devices to collect information from the ocean. By equipping these jellyfish with the cybernetic implants, the scientists were able to mimic a sort of pacemaker, which jolted a muscle group in the jellyfish, adding strength and efficiency. They state, quote, "In fact, the prosthetic-equipped jellyfish were over 1,000 times more efficient than the swimming robot, which is a fully mechanical jellyfish replica that uses a relatively large amount of power, making its use unfeasible." The study has shown that jellyfish possess an untapped ability for faster, more efficient swimming. They just don't usually have a reason to do so. Are they trying to say that these jellyfish are just lazy? And they also note that the study does not harm the jellyfish, and the jellyfish went back to swimming normally once the prosthetic was removed. And that's great news. No jellyfish were harmed during the making of this study. But seriously, there are both fascinating and frightening implications in this new study, in my opinion. Let me tell you what I think. I agree with the soon-to-be Dr. Xu. The advantages of using jellyfish during this project are abundantly clear. They require very little power input, and what power you do put in, you get a 2-to-3 output ratio, which is impressive. Furthermore, I understand that the first part of this project is motor manipulation of the subject. In this case, stimulating muscles to fire using electrical shocks. This must be the case the way that the project is structured, so that they can control where the cybernetic jellyfish will move. And this is where the project becomes a little bit frightening to me. I want you to stop and take a moment to just think about what we're really talking about here. To put it bluntly, we're talking about implanting a mechanical device into a living organism in order to control its actions. This is a very frightening technology to be developing, in my opinion. At some point, we are going to have the very real conversation about where we as a society will draw a line as to what we will and will not allow with the development of this technology, or things could get really out of hand.
Whoa, street preacher's out. J-Bone, you copying?
He'll kill anybody for money just to keep his body full of implants.
Hold, sinners!
Spider, look out!
Well, we're not there quite yet. Like I said before, I can see both pros and cons to this type of technology. I'm just a little suspicious as to why they chose to focus on motor manipulation first. I suggest that you could use a passive system of sensors that could be attached to the jellyfish, similar to a tag that has been used on dolphins and whales for years. These systems could upload data to a network of ships or underwater drones that could collect the data for triangulation, similar to cell phone networks. This passive data network would not need motor manipulation of the jellyfish. You just let them drift and collect the data. But instead, here we are advancing technology to control the actions of a living creature and to, how did they put it? To unlock its untapped ability for faster, more efficient swimming that it just normally doesn't have a reason to use. That seems like a pretty inhumane way of saying, we prod this little jellyfish to move faster. Bzz, bzz.
Watch this. The Montana taser. Alright, I'm done. Oh! God, I can't take it. What happened? You fragged me again.
But I just want to ask you all, where are we going to draw a line with this kind of technology? If we don't set some sort of limitations, it will only be a matter of time until someone develops a drone that could attach to a larger animal or even a human that could essentially do the same thing. And that thought is downright terrifying. At least to me it is. So what do you guys think? As always, the links for my source material are in the description below. Use those links to go out and read the information for yourself, then make up your own mind and let me know in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscription button and ring the bell for notifications to get all the latest information from Area 503. Well guys, for now, that's all the information that I have about cybernetic jellyfish. But this story is just too good not to follow, so expect to hear about any developments in a future video. As always, this has been Manny at Area 503, and I wish you all the best until we meet again. And I am out of here to continue my search for universal truth.